Hello, everyone. Back at Friday again. Super excited. Thank you so much for joining us here every Friday as you can, live and on the replay. Today, Suman and I are joined by Tammy Triolo. We're super excited to have her here. She's going to talk to us about women, specifically women in the workplace, and how we can support each other better. So Suman and I are always very grateful for everyone being here and tuning in live and on the replay. Just a reminder that we do record these. We put the replay up online. So if you choose to be off camera or choose to join us afterwards, we tend to have a little bit of further conversation that we don't record. As always, the last Friday of every month, we do also do an unrecorded session. And so that we welcome you to come to and share some community too in an unrecorded session. So we will post November's calendar, which is coming soon for our new speakers, and you can see what those new topics look like. So that's very, very exciting for us. And, you know, again, thanks for being here. Please, for those of you who are live, feel free to unmute yourself, be on or off camera as you're comfortable, and to use the chat function. We always love hearing from you all too. So, all right, let's get started here. Let me kick off with introducing Miss Tammy here. Tammy is founder of PCQ Consulting, and she is author of The Culture Revolution. PCQ is a company founded to make better workplaces for all employees. Tammy has over 15 years in the healthcare industry. She has worked in many areas from compliance to credentialing, management, and culture development. It is her love for building better company cultures that led her to starting her own company with her co-founder, Carolyn Eller. What makes her and her company different is she is not afraid of having hard conversations and needed to build a better culture. I can speak from experience that I know Tammy really believes in this, and she is revolutionary in this space. I am so glad to call you a friend and sister, and thank you so much for being here today. Welcome, Tammy.
Thank you for having me. I am so looking forward to this conversation. It's one that you and I have offline all the time, so it's really good to have it online with everybody that's joining us. So for everybody that's tuned in, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate every one of you.
Sorry, I was losing my, I was gonna get the mouse going. So Tammy, I know that we've had a lot of conversation around, you know, it seems strange right now to call it, you know, kind of this water cooler talk, but when we were all more so in the actual physical workplace, what kinds of conversations would you overhear, or what are some of those things that maybe happen around the water cooler, so to speak, that either could lead to some mistrust or, you know, kind of starting this gossip rumor mill in the workplace? And how do we kind of overcome that? I know that's a lot, but break it down as you see fit.
So I think you and I were having this conversation about the water cooler conversation that happens. I think this was around a post that I had done. And the post was, there was a post going around saying, protect Black women in the workplace. And so naturally, I'm a Black woman. So I thought, oh, okay, well, that's a really great hashtag, but let's ask the other question. How many Black women protect other women in the workplace? And this is where you and I were having this conversation about what happens at the water cooler. Because as Black women in corporate America, you and I know that there's conversation that Black women have amongst ourselves about other women in the workplace that we don't necessarily trust. And when you're a Black woman coming into corporate America, we Black people have this language that we speak. We are verbal and we do nonverbal. And so sometimes it's a look. Sometimes it's telling you directly who not to really trust in the workplace. And 9 times out of 10, the people that we're told not to trust are other white women. So my question was, how do we ask women to protect us in the workplace when we don't really trust them anyway? So if Black and white women don't get along in the workplace, if they don't trust each other in the workplace, why is there an expectation that any woman is going to protect you in the workplace? I don't see how that is. And I think the reason why there isn't a lot of trust in the workplace, particularly with women, and I've said this to you behind camera, is that because we're liars. We lie. Women are liars. And so when you're a liar, how do you build trust with somebody that doesn't know how to tell the truth? Now, there's reasons why we're liars, right? We are socialized to be liars. And we are socialized to be liars under the guise of being nice. And so if you're told to be nice, you start lying very young. So it's the lie that your mother told you, like, make sure you have a bank account that your husband doesn't know about, right? Just in case something happens. And if you got to get out real quick, he doesn't know you got money over there, right? And so that's a lie that we deem as acceptable. Or if somebody comes over to the house and maybe they brought food and it was awful, your mother would say, well, don't say it tasted bad. You just say thank you and say it was good. So we are socialized so early to lie. And we lie by omission, and we just outright lie. And so you and I were talking behind the scenes, and we're like, have you ever been sitting with a girlfriend? And even as she's telling you the story, you're like, she's lying. Like, you can't even sit through it. You can't finish it because you know she's lying. You get on LinkedIn and you're reading somebody's post and you're like halfway in and you're like, she's lying. So if this is how we are with each other all the time, exactly how do you expect to build trust? Are you trusting of somebody you don't believe? That you don't believe what they say to you? You don't believe what they're telling you, right? So you just have that basic, as women, we lie. Again, some of it is we're socialized to do it from very young. And we're socialized to do it so we don't hurt people's feelings. We're socialized it so that we're nice, so we're not so loud, so we don't take up so much space in the room. And so we quiet ourselves and we lie. So if your boss sets a mail that says, hey, Tiffany, what do you really think about that? And you basically scan the room and you gauge, this is probably not safe for me to say it. Guess what you're going to do? You're going to lie. You're going to say, oh, I think it was a great idea. I really like what you guys are doing. You're going to leave that room. You're going to go to your girlfriend and you go, I was in that meeting. It was awful. And I had to lie. I had to say, blah, blah, blah. So if I'm the girlfriend and you're constantly telling me about all the times you've lied, I'm keeping track that you are a liar. And so I don't trust you, right? And I think men, it's not that men don't lie. So I don't want people to be like, well, men lie too. Yes, they do. It's called a marriage. You have to lie to make it work. So men lie as well, but men lie for different reasons. They don't lie to be nice. Like a male boss will probably be more direct with you about whether your work was good or not good than a female boss would. Because when we are having conversations with other women, our first consideration is, I don't want to hurt their feelings. That's never a man's first consideration when they're having a conversation, right? So if you're leading with, I don't want to hurt her feelings, then you're not honest. And to not be honest with somebody is to not really respect them. What you're saying is, I don't trust you with the truth. I don't trust that you know or you can handle what I'm about to tell you, which is really strange. I mean, women carry humans in their bodies and they give birth. I think a woman is strong enough to handle some criticism, but we treat them as if they can't. And so we are constantly telling lies in the workplace, in our lives, and then we show up at work. If you're lying in your regular life, why do you expect that you are going to come into the workplace and you're not going to lie there?
Yeah. And there's been so many times where, and it's usually a woman who's like, you get in your workplace, you're new in the workplace, and they're like, don't trust that person. And they're already in your ear with the gossip. And you're like,
Yes.
how about I make that decision for myself? Because I have awesome instincts and I will make that determination for myself. But it's like, why do we feel this need to fill in the gap or fill in this space or to decide for somebody else how they should treat another woman, first of all, another person. But
Right.
As a woman, to sit there and like, now you've already like, you're trying to start some drama and kind of like, you're not being supportive. And so I know we talked about this too, but a lot of that is, we're competing with each other often because, and I don't know if it's because, I'd love to hear your thoughts, if it's because we feel like we're constantly having to compete with men. And I mean, hello, I've said my piece to men before and watched them sit in the room and steal my ideas that they just told me were not great. Sorry, men out here. Actually, I'm not sorry. We do that too. But
We do
it,
that too.
it happens where, you know, we have had to kind of position ourselves in these different areas. And so then I think it's caused us to kind of start this infighting where we're competing way too much with each other because we need to feel like, well, I can't let her get promoted because what about me? There's not enough room for me. So there's a difference between taking up your space in the room and like cutting somebody off else at the knees. So
Right.
what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think this goes back to we are socialized to see each other as competitions and not compliments to each other, right? So if I don't see a woman as a compliment to me, then she must be competition to me. And I was having this conversation with a girlfriend, and I said, I have been very, very fortunate. And I got this lesson very, very young, that we were having a conversation around jealousy, and do all people experience jealousy, and do all women experience jealousy? And I will say in my early 20s, I probably did. I experienced some jealousy. And then I had this moment of, well, what's divinely mine is mine. Nobody can get it. Nobody can have access to it. Nobody can steal it. And whatever that divinely mine is, whether that's a man, whether that's a job, a promotion, a home, a car, whatever is divinely mine will never be Tiffany's. It will never be Suman's. It will never be Denise's. It will never be any of these women's things because it's mine. So if it's divinely mine and you can't have it, then I don't need to feel jealousy over it. But a lot of women haven't overcome jealousy. And jealousy really comes from a place of complete insecurity about yourself. And because we lie so much, we haven't even been honest with ourselves about our own insecurities. So we bring lying into the workplace, we bring our insecurities into the workplace, and we bring jealousy into the workplace. When you have those three things walking in the door with you, every woman and almost every person is competition, but particularly every woman is a competition. So for me, no woman is really my competition. Women are nothing more than compliments to me. All of you are compliments to who I am and what I'm trying to do with my business, with my book, with whatever I'm doing. Having other women come in is a compliment to me. It's not competition to me. And so when you have women walking into the workplace with their own sense of insecurity and maybe where they came from, the job, you know, this is the thing about culture, particularly at work. If a company culture is set up to be competitive and to be backstabbing and to be all these things that people are fighting for, women aren't immune to falling for that. And so you bring that, whatever culture you came from, you bring that into your next job and into your next job and into your next job. And unfortunately, a lot of company cultures are designed that way. It is set up that way. Danique and I were talking about the HR function. And this is the role that men play in this divide between women. I don't find it coincidental at all that in the HR space, it is predominantly women. Now, if you're an employee in the work environment, I don't know a lot of employees that look at HR favorably. Nobody has the warm and fuzzies when it comes to HR. Nobody feels like this is the place I go and I'm going to have somebody that's going to be an advocate for me and is going to care about my job and is going to care about what's happening to me in this workplace. No employee views HR that way. Well, who's leading HR? Women. Women are sitting in those roles, right? If you're in the HR space and I'm a woman in the workplace and I'm being sexually harassed, I am facing discrimination from my boss or coworkers, that woman's job is to advocate for the company, not me. And so that very dynamic already puts another woman against me. I'm already fighting with another woman about my experience. And so I think men were very strategic because a lot of the companies are ran by men. I think men have been very strategic in that way. If I take a man to court and I say he's been sexually harassing me, and let's say the HR director is a man, that may be tough because it's going to be viewed as a man CEO was sexually harassing me and a man in HR is now fighting for that man. But if you put a woman there, then the playing field is equal. I have yet to meet a lot of HR women that say, I remember asking HR women, I said, how many times did you rule against the company in a sexual harassment suit? Almost all of them said never. So do you want me to believe that women are in the workplace not being sexually harassed? Of course they are. But the people that's making sure that those don't happen or the company is not liable for that are women. Another form of distrust in the workplace. And so I think that's the role that men play in creating this divide between women also in the workplace, because women are in charge of the HR function. And a lot of times when you are doing that function, you're not delivering good news all the time. You're not rolling out initiatives that make people feel good and feel great. You know, a lot of times you're the bad news bear in the organization. And so that sets up another dynamic of why you don't trust women. So when you come into the workplace, you get told very quickly who to trust and who not to trust. And almost always in that list is the HR manager or director, who happens to be a woman.
That's, whew, it's, and I see Christina and Daniele and Gil, Danique, all my HR culture folks down there. So I know they have some feelings. This chat is like lighting up. I'm loving it. But as an HR person, it's really hard to hear this, but this is feedback we need. I saw one of the comments that said, well, I'll just go to it, about how management sometimes HR starts out advocating for the employees, but ultimately they get beat down by management. As an HR person, I know some of my peers who are here too, because we've had these conversations offline, feel the same way and have had the same experiences, that we try to do the right thing. There is this balance between the organization and mitigating risk and being there as primary point of contact to prevent that, so the company doesn't get sued, so we preserve the brand, all those great things. But right, we have to have that human component too, because no business exists without its people. But there's a lot of work to be done. There is, and I will say it, and I know I'll get scorned by some of my HR folks, but I see some of them down here in this room who believe the way I do.
To be clear, that's not an indictment on the women that do the HR function. That's your job. I'm just saying that is the role men play in setting up this dynamic. Because if you put women in that role, women have to be going against women. My attorney that helped us set up our company, her name is Michelle Cohen, white woman, love her. And she, when we first connected with Michelle, she said to me that she was working as a employee attorney, but for the company. And she said her job was to dismiss and discredit all claims of sexual assault, sexual harassment, discrimination on the basis of race, religion, and sexuality. That was her job. And she said, after a while, I started to feel dirty. I felt dirty because I would have some of these complaints come in and they were credible. And I actually believed a lot of those women, but it was my job to discredit them. And there's not beyond just saying, no, the company didn't do something wrong, particularly for women who had come to her for sexual harassment or assault. But she understood later, that her going into a court of law and making a woman understand, cry about being sexually harassed and discrediting her felt so dirty, she left her law firm. So now she said she started her own firm, and now she's on the other side of that. So now she defends employees because it made her feel dirty. And I think a lot of women, this is why it's not a coincidence that HR is one of the, like the cycle of people leaving that field is crazy. The way women leave the HR field is crazy. And I think a lot of that comes from after a while, you can't do it anymore, right? But there's still some women who can, and they do. And if your response is, it's just my job, everybody goes, it's just my job. But just your job is contributing to a toxic culture for a lot of women, and sometimes mental health issues for women. And so we have to own the role we play in making women's lives sometimes far more difficult in the workplace than it has to be. There's very few women that walk away from their jobs because they're being asked to do something that is going to compromise women. My last position, I was a director, and I was the director over a department of 21 employees, all women, and my 2 men were gay men. So they call themselves the women too. That's them, not me. So for all intents and purposes, I had a department of 21. And my boss at the time implemented a change to my department, or wanted my department to be changed and be ran in a way that was in direct conflict to who I am and the way I manage. And I think I lasted with that change 2 weeks. And then I walked in and I said, if this is how you want me to treat people and manage the department this way, I'll step down. And I remember my HR director saying to me, why would you do that? Why would you give up your money? Why would you give up your title? Why would you give up your office? I went from an office to sitting in a cubicle, and that was fine with me. And she was like, well, why would you do that? You've worked so hard for that. And I said, I've worked harder for my integrity than I've worked for a title, an office, or a job. I've worked really hard at integrity. And what you're asking me to do, and the way you're asking me to manage and treat people, I cannot do that. So I would rather step down. I think my salary got cut by like $40,000. Take it. You can take the money, you can take the office, you can take the title, cool. You can have it. 2 weeks after stepping down, I realized that didn't go far enough. So I think 2 months later, I resigned. There's not a lot of me in the world. There's not a lot of me, and there's not a lot of me in the women that I encountered. Denique is one of those women that's that way. Caroline Ellis, the reason why we're in business together, because some women do operate from a place of integrity and honesty. But the problem is when we encounter the lying women, you don't know how to deal with us. So then we are disruptive. We aren't, team players. We aren't girls. No, what we are is honest. And because you've been operating and continue to operate from a place of lying, we seem like harsh people to you. And I'm not saying to tell the truth. You don't have to tell truths you're not ready to tell. I was saying to you, Tiffany, earlier, like sometimes the truth is, Tiffany, this is not something I want to discuss with you. And that's the truth, right? But instead of being honest and saying that, we will lie about whatever it is we don't want to talk about, right? And it's amazing to me the way women treat each other in the workplace. And we talked about like this allyship that's happening now on the LinkedIn space. And what I see from particularly white women in this allyship is that white women have kind of hijacked the woke movement. And they've hijacked it so stealthily, it should be studied. It really should be. I mean, they have done a fantastic job of moving the conversation away from what the woke movement was supposed to be about, further lending to this distrust in the workplace between women. And then you throw in that racial component, you got a whole nother situation, right? And so what I see on the LinkedIn space, and I've done posts about this, is what I call the white woke-tivists, playing the game of Wokemon. And it's not about people of color. It's not about Black people. It's look at me and how virtuous I am to care about said minority. I will read posts all the time from white women that will do the, Black Lives Matter or LGBT or trans woman, and nowhere in those posts are they directing you to a woman of color whose content you should be reading or paying attention to, a woman of color who wrote a book that they read that they found impactful and changed them, or some trans person that is doing something. Nobody, they're never directing you to these people. It's only about me. I look at my posts. Look how great I am. Look at what I'm talking about. all the time. And so the woke movement went from, and then it moved from people of color to just women. And it's like, yeah, I mean, there's some issues facing women. You know, I happen to be one. There's some issues facing us, but this movement wasn't just about women. And so it's moved from helping people of color, trans people, gay people, to now we're just talking about women. And I'm going to say something here, and this may be another conversation. And listen, Tiffany, they invited me here because they know who I am. You know, I mean, next to Black women, the people getting castigated are white men. Has anybody noticed that? Or it's just me? It's like white men have become almost the devil incarnate, and they've become that way from white women. And I will tell you, in my life, in my career, the people that have shown up for me the most were white men. And that's just the truth. It was not Black women, not women, white men. And so I just see this divide that's happening with women, with Black and white women, that keeps getting broader, because white women are talking about allyship without actually being allies. Because what an ally does is you walk into the room because you understand that your skin gets you in the room. And then you sit your ass down, excuse my language, and you let the Black person or the brown person or the Spanish person talk. And if the people in the room start directing the question to you, you direct that question back to the Black people or the brown people. That's not what's happening. White women are walking in the room and they're saying, this is my girlfriend, Tammy. She's cute, ain't she? She is. And then what they do is they start talking. And my only role is to simply be there.
Oof. Oof, okay, had to take a breath, but yeah, this chat is like lit. I love it. Wow, just I don't even know where to start. There's just a lot going on in here. Someone said the lie is women need to act like men in the workplace.
That's a lie.
Whoa,
That's a lie.
that's
Women
one short sentence that's full of a lot of meat. Can we go there for a minute?
And men aren't even asking us to behave like them. There's no man asking a woman to behave like them in the workplace. Not one I've ever met. Now, if you've met some, put them in the chat. We'd like to know who those men are. I've never been in a workplace. I've never been in a situation where a man has ever wanted me. That's, first of all, we invented that lie, and then we started telling it to everybody. We invented that lie because, again, we're liars. So we invented that lie, and we started telling that to everybody. I don't know one man. I've never been asked by a man to behave in the workplace like a man. You have decided, you women have decided that in order for them to be as good, to be as this, to be as that, they've decided they needed to act that way. You can't put that on men. You decided you needed to act that way. When I go into the workplace, I go in with my hair, I go in with my makeup, I go with my fashions, I go with my bag, my heels, my lip gloss. I am all woman, whether I'm at work or I'm at home, I'm with my girlfriends. Women decided that. Men never asked. Men never asked women to be men in the workplace. Women told, when I first got onto the platform, and I won't say the young lady's name because this is not what this is about. But when I first got onto the LinkedIn platform, I connected with this one woman, and I kind of liked her immediately. And so we connected and we had a conversation, and she was voicing her frustrations at not being able to show up on the LinkedIn space like Gary Vee. And I said, well, what do you mean? She said, well, Gary Vee can, you know, I like Gary Vee because he uses profanity, and, you know, I like a good little F-bomb myself every now and again. And so Gary Vee is very direct in the way he speaks. He uses profanity. He says what he thinks. He says what he feels. And she said, but we can't be that. And I said, but why can't you? I said, you made that calculation that you couldn't come into this space being yourself. Nobody told you you couldn't. You made the calculation. And the calculation you made is, if I curse, if I use profanity, if I do this, if I do that, then people won't hire me. And the truth is, some people won't hire you, but some people will. You made the calculation that it was not advantageous to you to do that, and so you didn't. So now you're on the phone with me saying that because of men, you can't be your authentic self. And no man told you you couldn't be that. You made the calculation. You decided that. You decided that it was not advantageous to you to come onto the platform and put an F-bomb in your post or drop an F-bomb in your video. You made that calculation. And now you're saying because of men, you can't be that. No man told you that. You told yourself that.
And, you know, I'm sitting here trying to, subconsciously, I know it, but to hear it is so mind-blowing for me. But I think it also goes back to what you said earlier, which is, as young girls, we're taught to be a certain way.
Yeah.
So we bring that all the way through with us, that now if we come to the workplace, that's how we are. So now if we move away from that, we're now more man-like, right? We are now, and that's what makes it, that's the difference, right? Is that it becomes that male energy versus that female energy, which is another layer to the women distrust that we have going on. Right? Is that, okay, so I was brought up a certain way. I'm the, you know, the accommodator, the collaborator, all of that stuff, and the appeaser. And now if I come in confronted with a woman who is not, well, now she's more like the boss, and now she's going to climb over me, and now I can't trust her.
Right.
And that's
your own stuff.
Yep. But
that
again,
has nothing to do with her.
Yes.
That's your own stuff. So we come in with our own stuff and we drop it on other women. Like, that has nothing to do with her. That is your stuff.
Right.
That is your stuff. And if you would stop being a liar and say, then maybe you could start building a relationship. Like, any relationship built on lies is just not going to work. It's why your marriage doesn't work. It's why your friendships doesn't work. It's why your work relationship don't work. If you start any relationship lying, why do you think that's going to work? I mean, why do you think that's going to work? It's only going to be a matter of time. We've all walked away from friends where we just can't ever be friends with, because they just lie so much we can't take it anymore. It's like, you're like, I just can't. No, I don't want to hear another story about this dude that she left 5 times and we're back at 6, like, we're not doing it anymore, right? Because at some point we just go, I can't take it anymore, right? Well, that happens no matter whether that's in the workplace, your friendships, your relationships, at some point you become so adept at lying that people just don't want to be around you anymore. And then you put all the reasons why people don't want to be around you, except that you're a liar.
Can we talk about like that intersection of like friends in the workplace? And like, when you were saying this, I'm like, I see this person's face, I see their head, this chick who was supposed to be my friend, and I had to call her out on some bad behavior. And then she's like, I'm not used to you being like this. You're just usually so ginger. What do you mean? Because I called you out. This is not acceptable behavior, sweetheart. Like, and then she's like, I can't believe you treated me like this. Me. Well, I have to tell you, this is not okay. And I said, I thought you were here to support me, and you weren't. And so this caused an issue in the workplace where I started distancing myself. We kind of made it work. After that, after I wasn't working there anymore, and then it was like, almost like, how dare you tell me about myself? Well, I found out she's a narcissist, and she was gaslighting me through this conversation where I was like, I don't have to tolerate this, and left the ball in her court. She hasn't reached out since. So in my mind, I don't know where she's at, but we're not friends. We're not. I don't have to put up with that.
Listen, I said this on another live, and Caroline, my business partner, she says, well, when are we going to have our first? I always said, anything worth its salt, you got to have a good row. And for those, it's an argument. You got to have a good argument, because a good argument will let you know where you stand with somebody. What happens is, when you don't have conflict with people, all you're doing is avoiding what you really are. The thing I love about Danique and we've had conflict, and when she's feeling something, she says it. She's brutally honest sometimes. I'm like, oh Jesus, here she go. but she says what upsets her. She says what she doesn't like, and then we move on from it. Either we are going to move on from it or we're not. But from the very beginning of her and I deciding to be friends, that's how we've started our friendship. So that's just the vein by which it goes. So if she does something I don't like, I say. If I do something she doesn't like, she says. Why? Because we started off not being liars to one another. It's really that easy. And anything that you learn, you can unlearn. And so, yes, we're socialized as young girls to, you know, like I said, to tell white lies. I remember the first, I think I said to my sister one time, I said, well, yeah, when I was married, I'm like, well, I told my husband at the time that I have a secret savings account. She's like, what do you mean? You're not supposed to tell him. And I'm like, I didn't tell him how much was in it. I just told him I had one. But again, it was an omission, right? So I told not the whole truth. So I told a truth, but it wasn't the whole truth, right? I didn't say, my mother told me to get a secret savings account, and I've had it for the past 15 years, and I got a little bit of change in there. What I said was, I got a little secret savings account. My mother told me I need to have it. Wasn't the whole truth. But this is what we do in our lives, and this is what we do in the workplace. And for me, I said, Danique and I were talking, and I'm like, okay, Dan, I said, so how do we build trust? And I said, it's really, really simple. I want everybody to get out their pen and paper, get it out, let's write this down. How do you build trust? So easy. Stop lying. Stop lying. Start collaborating. See women as a compliment to you and not as competition. Done and done.
Wow. Yeah. You can't start a relationship if it's built on a lie, it's not built on trust, and it's not going to work, or it's going to be one messed up relationship, and God help you all. That's wow. So there's someone said in the chat, you have to do your own work first and be self-aware and accountable for yourself and own actions and in how you treat others. That's right. Like if we don't,
that's great. And that's all true. But the reason why people won't be self-accountable, because they're not just lying to you, they're lying to themselves. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? By the time somebody gets to you, I mean, you're just getting that whole story they've told themselves, you know, for the past 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. So for somebody to say, be accountable for yourself, have you even been honest with yourself? Because if you're in a dishonest place, that's where your accountability is coming from. It's coming from a dishonest place. So by the time you show up to me, you think you're accountable, but you're not, because what you believe about yourself is the lie you've been telling about yourself for the last 10, 15, 20 years. Like I always say, the biggest lie we tell ourselves is the one we tell ourselves about ourselves. We lie to ourselves first before we tell the lie to anybody else, right? So we will say things like, oh, you know, I'm a really nice person. Yeah, but you're a bitch sometimes too, right? I'm a really giving person, but sometimes you're selfish. You know, I'm a really honest person. You tell lies. You know what I mean? So we will do this. So if you're saying be accountable, I want you to be accountable for yourself. If you are holding yourself accountable from the place of brutal honesty about who you are. Once you've been brutally honest with yourself about who you are, then be accountable from that place. If you're going to be accountable from the place of your own lies, I don't want it, sis, because you ain't going to show up no different for me. You're just not, because you haven't decided to show up different for yourself. So I can't expect Tiffany to show up for me if she hasn't shown up for herself. You can only do for me what you have done for yourself. And so I want you to be accountable, but I want you to be honest about who you are. And a lot of women, a lot of people, but this conversation is specific to women. A lot of women have believed their own lies for so long that they don't even know who they are underneath all of that stuff. They have no idea. That's why we are labels. That's why I'm a mom. I'm a CEO. I'm a business owner. I'm an age. We're all labels. We are all labels because we don't even know who we are. We haven't unpacked who are you. If I took away your label, if I took away your title of being a mom or a doctor or who are you? Underneath all of that, who are you? And a lot of who we are shaped by our life experiences, about our traumas that we haven't healed from. And so what you do is you just tuck that away, and then it just shows up someplace else. And then you tuck that away and it shows up someplace else. I'd say to all my girlfriends, I'm like, life is nothing but a big old test. And if you will just repeat it. So it will show up in another person. It will show up in another job because you haven't learned the lesson. So you just keep repeating this stuff and repeating this stuff and repeating this stuff. And so it's like when we are working with companies and we're talking to them about their culture and stuff, it's like, do you even know what your culture is? Because one's going to get developed for you, whether you could be an active participant in building your culture, or it's going to develop. And do you even know what that is? Did you spend any time? It's funny, like people will spend all their time in building their business. They know their marketing strategy. They want going to be the kind of salespeople they're going. No, but like culture isn't even a part of their strategy. And it's like, well, the culture really is the people and how they work with each other, how they collaborate with each other, how they show up in the workplace for each other. And if you don't think that's important, here we are.
Mm-hmm. I love what you said. It's like you were in the chat. Maybe you were reading it, but I love a couple of these comments. I want to pull out. The masks we wear are to cover up our truth, right? We're lying to ourselves. Then we have to show there has to be this cover, and we have to hide for everyone else. So I love that. And then the other thing you talked about childhood trauma. So someone said most people learn to lie as children to avoid pain and punishment for what they did wrong.
Yep.
Don't we see that play out in the workplace? Hello, I work in HR. I see it all the time.
Every day. We see that play out in the workplace. And this is when I say we're liars, I'm not saying it to insult people. I really am not. But I want you to really think about all the time you lie. You lie in your life, and all the times you've lied at work. And the reason why people lie is exactly that. It's fear of punishment. It's fear of losing something, because the other person on the other side of you, you don't know if they're operating from a place of integrity. And that's another reason why we don't tell the truth, right? So if I come in wanting to tell the truth, but I believe Tiffany is not a person of integrity, then I think, well, she's not even deserving of my truth because she has no integrity. Not understanding that your integrity is apart from somebody else's. My integrity is not attached to you, and it's not dependent on whether or not you have integrity. Your integrity is yours. That belongs to you. We're not co-sharing in this. And so women make the calculation. I can tell the truth, but if I tell the truth, I don't think she's an honest person, and I don't think she's going to do the right thing with the truth. And so I will give her the lie. And that's what we do. Everybody's making a calculation. In my last post on LinkedIn, and Danique and I were having this conversation, I said, honestly, the one thing the world is missing is courage. That's it. That's all. That's really all we're missing is courage, because we will be in places, whether that's at work, in a ball game, wherever we are, and we can see wrong happening in front of us. And everybody will make the calculation about whether or not it is advantageous to them to speak up and do the right thing. And if you're sitting in a situation and you've made the calculated that this is not advantageous to me, you're not saying nothing. And whether that's in the workplace or whether that's in your personal relationship and marriages, you're just not going to say anything. It's like having an argument with your husband. Do you really say what you really feel? Because if you say it, it can really go left. And instead of us not talking for 2 days, we're probably not going to be talking for 5. So if you have been exhausted by not talking for 2 days, you go, it's not worth it to me. We're not going to say it. Let's just get this over with and let's get back to life. And people do that in the workplace. It's what we do. We make calculated risk. Is this going to be advantageous to me? If it's not, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to do it. If it is, I will. And I think women have to stop lying and learn to show up courageously in the workplace and show up courageously in their lives. Like if you tell somebody your truth and they don't want to hire you, They don't want to be friends with you. Sweetheart, you have dodged the biggest bullet in your life. Like, you can't see that as a bad thing. You have to see that as God or the universe saying, I got something better for you. I want to put you around people, places, things, women, that's going to be a resource for you, that's going to be a compliment to you and not a competition for you. They're going to be a compliment to you. And when you start telling the truth, that's what happens. The universe opens up and gives you all of these beautiful compliments. It's why the universe gave me you. It's why the universe gave me Danique. It's why the universe gave me Suman. It's why the universe gave me Caroline. The universe opened up and gave me, when I started being honest about what my weaknesses are, what my flaws are. It gave me Sierra, the lady that does our business development. I will tell you, Stephen is a new connection for me, Siegel. And Stephen has showed up in a way that people I have been connected to on the LinkedIn platform hasn't shown up, and we've been connected for years. I think I've known Stephen maybe 2 weeks, and what he has done or given for me and my business and my business partner has been incredible. So when you decide to be open and honest, the universe responds to you. But if you want to be a liar, here we are. And I'm just challenging you not to be a liar. Stop lying. Stop lying. You want to build great relationships in your life, in your workplace, stop lying. But I want you to stop lying to you first. And if you have trauma, find somebody's couch, sit on it, work through it, so that you can start being honest.
Tammy, the chat is blowing up. I can't keep up with all the comments here. I don't even know where to start. There's things, it says, it takes courage to be compassionate. We've lost compassion because so many people felt done wrong in life, so they take a dose of it all. And then there are other comments that say, heal yourself and be honest with yourself. You cannot be your authentic self versus adaptive self without doing the inner work first. Compassion. Social media has made that even more difficult, right? Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
Got a lot of people asking, say again, Tammy, sorry.
Cancel culture sucks, and it helps nothing. It helps nothing. I remember this one. I don't know if you guys remember this, oh my God, it had to be 2 years ago. It was this young lady. She was 18 years old. I think she was a white girl from some rural part of the country, where she is probably seen, if she's rural, it was a rural, probably seen maybe 5 Black people in her whole life, okay? If that. And she did a post saying that something or another, and she said, and we're voting for Trump and blah, blah, blah. And she had a scholarship to go to some school to do like cheerleading or tumbling. And cancel culture does what it does. It's complete and utter bullshit. And cancel culture swooped in and demonized this girl. And she's 18 years old. She's 18. And she lost her scholarship. She had to deactivate all of her social media following. And I remember sitting there thinking, how does this help anything? Mm-hmm. How does this help anything? This girl is 18. Do you know how much stupid shit I did at 18 and 19? That if we were living in the age of cancel culture, I wouldn't even be sitting here. She's an 18-year-old girl from a rural part of the country that probably have parents that, and I'm not making, I still do stupid shit. And I'm not making any assumption about, them or whatever. But let's just say her parents grew up in the 40s or the 50s, where race was not this big thing and everybody kind of knew their place. So her parents could only give to her what was given to them, right? I could only give to my kids what was given to me. Some of the things my parents gave to me were great, and and the other things weren't so great. I don't pass on, right? She's an 18-year-old girl in a very rural part of the country. Surprise, surprise, they voted for Trump for whatever the reason. But for the internet to decide that she was not worthy of her scholarship, that she had spent 12 years in school working for, insane, that she was to be bullied at 18. Well, guess what? This is a young white woman. I guarantee you she's going to show up in somebody's corporate America. at some point, because as we do with all things, we forget about these people and they go away. And then they continue their lives. So she's going to go either to another college or probably got her scholarship reinstated to this one. She's going to go to school. She's going to go get a career, and she's going to be in a workplace with other people that don't look like her. And what do you think that experience of all these Black and brown and all these other people attacking her, what do you think she's bringing into the workplace with her? How do you think that shows up for Black people or brown people? Like, this is the stuff that cancel culture misses. It's like, allow people to be dumb. Like, this cancel culture don't even allow you to be dumb anymore. It's like, we are make being dumb great again. Like, we do dumb stuff as human beings. And if the penalty is you get to go away for forever, I mean, is this what we want to do? Because again, like I said, she's a young white girl. She's going to show up in somebody's workplace. So she's going to show up in somebody's workplace already distrustful of all the women that don't look like her. And we would have created that. Societally, we created that.
Cancel culture, another whole topic. I think it's
Listen,
another powerful.
Don't bring me back for that one. It probably will drop a few F-bombs. So I would say leave me off that discussion.
I think Tiffany and I have talked about that one, and that's a little challenging. I think that's when we need a little bit more.
We'll have Danique for the cancel culture.
Yeah, there you go. So we typically wrap around 1 o'clock. We've got 5 minutes. I didn't know if anyone had any questions. Again, the conversation in the chat is beyond amazing. I hope everyone's had the opportunity to read and follow it through. Any final words to wrap us up? You've definitely given me so much to think about. Again, I think it's all been in my subconscious, and you have popped it out to the forefront of my thinking. So for that, I thank you. Any last words you'd like to wrap up? And then everyone can stay, whoever can stay afterwards on the unrecorded session, we can pop there for about 10 or 15 minutes.
Okay, so I want to wrap it up. I think I said it already. These are the 3 things you need to do to build trust. 1, we're going to what? Stop lying. We're going to start collaborating with one another. And we're going to begin to see women as a compliment to us and not competition. I am a compliment to you as a Black woman so that you understand a culture you are not a part of. You are a compliment to me as a white woman so that I understand your culture that I'm not a part of. We are compliments to one another. You are not my competition. What is divinely yours, I cannot take. And what is divinely mine, you cannot take. So if what is for you is for you, then you don't need to feel like you're competing with me. If you understand that, you will move away from competition. If you're in a job and Suman got that promotion, that was for Suman. Go have drinks, celebrate it, and then go home and visualize and manifest what you want for your life. Because what is divinely for you is for you. So that is the takeaway from today. Stop lying, start collaborating, and see women as a compliment to you and not competition.
Stephen, were you gonna say something?
Just my opinion. One of the big differences between men and women is I can have vicious verbal fights with other men. I have thrown men out after inviting them in for business purposes. I've thrown them out. I've kicked them out. I've turned my back on men, literally, and refused to shake their hands. And purposely made sure that they knew why I was angry and mad with them. Well, guess what? Time heals all wounds. I got what I wanted. I've gone back and I'm friends with them. I can talk with them. I can collaborate with them. I can work with them. It seems, and it's just my opinion, it seems that women, they can't let that go. Once they have that competition or that fight, they can't come back to this. It's not personal, it's business. We have to come back to this. We have to put our personal feelings aside. And it seems like, from my experience, what I've seen is men can and then come back and do this. But women, for some reason, I'm a guy, what do I know? You know, they can't get back to that.
Well, I think for a lot of women, it's our own ego. Like men have egos for sure, but I think women have egos, and when they get bruised, it feels personal to us. And for me, it's not personal. Like I said, I'm able to disagree with my friends, my business partner. We're two women. We're two women of different generations. We're two women of different races, mostly the same culture, but we get to disagree and do it so respectfully. And I am so fortunate to be doing this work with Caroline. And Caroline is a white woman from England. And the thing I appreciate about her is her and I will have conversations about things she wasn't aware of. So Tiffany, you are in the HR space, so you may be able to speak to this. But I remember saying to Caroline, I was like, listen, when you start crying as a white woman, that could mean somebody's job. When you as a white woman go into the HR space crying, somebody could lose their job. She had no idea that was even a thing. Like, she didn't understand that as a white woman, her going in and complaining about maybe a minority employee and going in there with tears, what that could mean for that minority employee. So there's some white women that don't even understand the power of their racial makeup in the workplace. And there's some that absolutely do, and they weaponize it in the workplace. So, but again, if people get to be honest, I mean, we can work out, you can work out anything if you have honesty. You can't if you're a liar. You just can't.
Love it. Thank you so much for all these golden nuggets. People are in the chat like, do you have a podcast? I will subscribe. I actually just told you that before we started. I would subscribe to that all day. I love seeing all these familiar faces. I love seeing the new faces. Thank you all for being here and being so amazing. And Tammy, just thank you for all these golden nuggets. You've created a fan base. This chat is lit, and people want to see your podcast and think you're gonna make it happen.
Yes. Well, you got to have Danique on for the cancel culture, because that'll be amazing, because her and I are actually working on a podcast together, and we're going to be talking about the labels that we give ourselves, and the ones that society puts on us, and how we live out our labels and out our lives. And so people are living labels, whatever that label is. I'm gay, I'm black, I'm white, I'm straight, I'm male, or whatever. So we are living all these labels. And when you're so focused on making sure your label is represented, you lose your life, and you're not even living your life.
You make sure you let us know when that's happening, because this was powerful. That sounds even more powerful. I'm not quite sure that's how that happens, but that's going to sound even more powerful.
I will subscribe, share, all those things. So
absolutely.
Tammy can be found on LinkedIn. She is active there and making things happen, and we're so excited. Thank you again for being here, for sharing all this with us. I'm so glad to see all these men in the space. I was telling men on my post, like, don't be shy, come on. And I will say, fun fact, the first 4 people who joined the waiting room were men. Can we just get a round of applause?
Thank you, men.
Thank you all for joining.
Next TED Talk where I slam men.
All right, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. We'll post the replay, and take care, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.